Colossians chapter 3. Well, I hope everybody had a good Thanksgiving. I hope you got your fill of turkey. I hope you got, I was going to say your fill of family, but hopefully you didn't get your fill. Hopefully you had a really good time with family. We had a wonderful, wonderful Thanksgiving. And one of the things that has become a holiday tradition for us over the last 4 years is on Black Friday, we head out early in the morning, left home at about 5:30, or left Hutch about 6 o'clock, and we drove an hour north to Kannapolis. And on the way to Kannapolis, got there by about 7 o'clock, and the sun, first light, is just starting to come over the eastern horizon, and this full moon is starting to set in the west. And it was this incredible moment of worship, of just sort of being awestruck by the goodness of creation, and ultimately by the goodness of the Creator, by the goodness of God. And so I hope over this last week you've had moments where you've just been awestruck by the goodness of God. And maybe it was somewhere seeing the full moon rising over the last few nights, being outside. We spent yesterday a couple hours cleaning up the leaves in our front lawn, which faces north. If you've ever wanted to experience an exercise in futility, it's clean up your lawn before it's going to blow 50-mile-an-hour wind gusts out of the north. But it was good. Or maybe for you is just sitting around a table with people you love and talking about what you're thankful for and gratitude. I hope you've had moments like that over the last week. And also realize that for some of us, holidays are tough. They're difficult. They're difficult because of family tensions. They're difficult because maybe we've lost a loved one in the last year, and so we feel that absence. And so we just bring the experiences of our past week, we bring them with us into this space as we worship today. And this morning what we're doing is we're ending this series. This is the last Sunday in a series called More Than a Song, where we've been talking about worship and what it means to worship. And we've been exploring different ways of worship beyond just singing and sermons and things like that. But this morning, we want to talk about the act of singing, of giving voice to these things that are good and true and beautiful. Because when God's people, when we come together in a place like this and we sing, it's more than just a song. The act of singing is something bigger. It's something much more powerful. It points to something that is so incredibly important. But we need to understand, too, how incredibly strange it is to get together with a group of people that maybe some of us don't know each other very well and sing. That's a weird thing to do. Now imagine you're at your coffee shop, your favorite coffee shop, favorite restaurant tomorrow, and you go in, and all of a sudden something inspires you, and you just stand up, you pull out your pitch pipe, and you say, right, was that like a C flat or something like that? That's the reason I don't sing. You pull out your pitch pipe and you say, "Hey, shall we sing?" And you just start singing out to see who joins you. What if you did that? People would look at you like a lunatic, right? It probably wouldn't go over very well. Who knows? You can try it and do an experiment. We'll come back next week with the results. Because singing together in public is kind of a strange deal. Where do we do this? Maybe at a birthday party, we sort of stumble through happy birthday. Maybe it's at a ball game, you sing the national anthem, or at a baseball game, you sing Take Me Out to the Ball Game. But singing together as a group of people is becoming increasingly strange. It's a weird thing. So if you walked in this morning as a visitor, and you've never been in a church gathering before, you've never, you're just kind of exploring what do these crazy Jesus people do when they get together, and all of a sudden there are these words on the screen and everybody's singing. Can you just appreciate for a minute how odd that would be? How strange that would feel if you had never experienced that before? And yet, this is a core part of what we do as a church. And it's not just us as a church, it's a core part of what the people of God have always done, is singing. There's something powerful that happens when we sing. So why is it so important? Take a look at Colossians chapter 3. Colossians 3, verses 15 to 17. Let the peace of Christ rule in your hearts, since as members of one body you are called to peace, and be thankful. Now let's stop right there for a second. I love that little phrase, 3-word sentence, and be thankful. I haven't always enjoyed being commanded to be thankful. I can remember stories or memories sitting around the Thanksgiving dinner table and parents or grandparents or somebody else said, "What are you thankful for?" And I had to well, I'm not thankful that I have to share right now what I'm thankful for, right? There's this, be thankful. Sometimes maybe you feel compelled to be thankful. But that's not what this is. When Paul says, and be thankful, it's actually more literally translated, become thankful. Be becoming thankful. That what he's saying is to become the kind of people who are continuously thankful, to grow in the sense of gratitude. That gratitude more and more becomes the lens that we start to see the world through. Become thankful. And then he goes on, verse 16, and let the message, the words, and the example of Christ dwell, abide among you richly as you teach and admonish one another. So there's this corporate sense, like we're teaching one another, we're instructing one another. But how are we doing it? He says, teach and admonish one another through psalms and hymns and songs of the Spirit. We're teaching and admonishing one another through singing, through psalms, hymns, songs of the Spirit, singing to God with gratitude in your hearts. And whatever you do, whether in word or deed, do it all in the name of the Lord Jesus, giving thanks to God the Father through him. I mean, this is incredible what Paul is saying here. That in some ways, notice, like in this passage, to whom are we singing when we worship? To whom are we singing? I mean, it's not a trick question. We're singing to God, right? So we would all acknowledge that when we gather and we sing these songs, we are singing to God. And yet, we are also in some ways singing for one another. We're singing to God, but we're singing for, in some ways, one another. We're teaching, we're instructing, we're building each other up through our singing together. There's something powerful, Paul says, happens when we join our voices together. And so I want to talk about three things about why it is that it's so important for the people of God to sing, why we sing. And sometimes we sing because we can't help it. Like sometimes you might come into worship, or you might be somewhere else. You might be on the way to Canopolis on a beautiful 40-degree sunrise in the end of November, and you might just start singing because you can't help it. I mean, there's a song in your heart, and you got to sing. In fact, this phrase right here, it says, sing to God with gratitude in your hearts. It's actually translated with grace singing in your hearts. Like, so the grace of God is like, it's like a tuning fork in your heart that starts to sound, and you have to sing it. Like, you got to respond. If you're not going to sing, right, you're going to hum. If you're not going to hum, you're going to whistle. If you're not going to whistle, you're going to tap your toes. If you don't tap your toes, like, you're going to burst. The rocks themselves are going to cry out. You've got a song, and you have to sing it. When Sweet Home Alabama. Come on. Turn it up, right? What are you going to do, right? What are you going to do when Sweet Home Alabama comes on in the car? I might not get him stopped now, right? Thanks, Taylor. You're going to sing, right? I just told him, asked him if he could do that. That's literally what I went back to ask him to do. So he just pulled that out of thin air. So thank you, Taylor. So when your jam comes on the radio, what are you going to do? You're in a car full of people, and your song comes out. You're going to sing. You can't help but sing, right? This whole thing, maybe this is like your morning commute. You got a song, and you have to sing it. Worship is like this sometimes. It's like this. There's grace singing in our hearts, and we have to give voice to it. The book of Psalms, we're told here to sing psalms. And we have this incredible gift in the middle of our Bibles, this book of Psalms, 150 songs. And the last 6 of them, particularly, Psalm 145 to 150, are these songs of just incredible gratitude to God and praise. Listen to this, Psalm 149. Praise the Lord. Sing to the Lord a new song, his praise in the assembly of his faithful people. Let Israel rejoice in their Maker. Let the people of Zion be glad in their King. Let them praise his name with dancing. Right, come on, somebody. And make music to him with timbrel and harp. For the Lord takes delight in his people. He crowns the humble with victory. Let his faithful people rejoice in this honor and sing for joy even on their beds. I mean, sometimes you just got to sing. You have to. And if you're here this morning, right, and you're in this place where it's I have to sing, then go for it. Then sing. Sing loud. It doesn't matter if you can sing or you can't sing. Sing. If there's a song in your heart, sing it out. This is incredibly important. We need you to sing. We need you to sing. If this is where you are, if it's authentic, if this is a true expression of where you are, sing. We need it. Because there may very well be somebody sitting around you who can't. Not that they can't sing, but maybe they can't find the words. Maybe they don't have it. Maybe they don't have what it takes today. Maybe it has taken every ounce of energy that they have had just to get themselves here. Because life has been hard and they just feel, they feel beat up. And so they can't sing, and so you actually get to sing for them. That you're singing to God, but you're also singing for them. That to see the passion, to see what God is doing in your life, it gives us hope and it inspires us when we can't find our own voice. We sing together. So if there's a song in your heart, sing it. We sing because we have to, but sometimes we sing because it's too risky not to. We realize that we don't always come into a worship gathering like with a song in our hearts. Like sometimes we sing purely because it's a discipline, and we sing because it's too risky not to sing. Well, what in the world does that mean? It's too risky not to sing. Well, it's because life is so hard, and we've been so like sort of beat up that the lens that we see the world through is no longer of God's gratitude, or of gratitude to God and God's abundance and goodness. What's up, Juby? How's it going, girl? Juby wants to sing. But we start to see the world through a lens of like scarcity and hardship. And if we don't sing, if we don't find something good to sing about, do you know what's in danger of happening to our souls? That we can just sink further and further into cynicism and despair. Right? We've been there, haven't we? That life is hard. And so why do we sing? We sing because it's too risky not to. We have to find something good to sing about. We need to find ways of turning our pain, our sorrow, our grief, our loss, of giving voice to it and turning it into a song to God. And this is what the Psalms will teach us how to do as well. About half of the Psalms are Psalms of lament. Did you know that? About half of them. And is that that's probably a true reflection of our life as a church, as people of faith. Probably half of our life is going to lead us to some sort of pain. There's just going to be pain. It's either going to be in our own life or people we love, people around us. And so we have to learn how to take our pain and to transform it into song, into praise. This is what the songs of lament do. The African American spirituals, right? Where do those songs come from? Where do they come from? They come from pain. They come from sorrow. They come from hopelessness. They come from slavery. They come from oppression. They come from these horrible places. And yet, the maturity of people who were sort of beat down by the circumstances of life is they found a way to take this pain and to not sink into cynicism and despair, but to turn them into a song of hope and praise. Sometimes we sing because it's too risky not to sing. Ireland is this interesting case, right? Ireland, this tiny little island, a couple million people living there. About 5 million people. But Ireland produces this like disproportionate number of famous musicians. Here are just a couple, right? Like really, really famous people. Why in the world, and not to mention the Lord of the Dance, remember Michael Flatley. I didn't put him on the list. Maybe you remember Michael Flatley. Never mind. Nobody else watched those PBS specials growing up. The train just totally derailed. I have about 100 other things to say. But the reason, I think one of the reasons why there's so many so many famous Irish musicians is because Ireland has this history of pain and oppression, of colonization. And so there's this practice of learning how to sing together, how to turn their pain into music and to joy. If we can learn how to do this practice, we can take the adversities, the fires of adversities can become a place where the most beautiful art is forged in our own lives. That we get to sing as a church, we get to sing together, to sing for the years, sing for the laughter, and sing for the tears. So sometimes we sing because we have to. We have to. There's actually a psychology, the magazine Psychology Today did an article a couple years ago about how the act of singing together as a group of people, even a group of strangers who have no musical talent at all, singing together can reduce anxiety, depression, and loneliness. Isn't that cool? Don't you love when like social sciences catch up with the church? Like, there's something to this singing thing. It's why we do it. Just singing, just joining your voice with voices of other people can decrease loneliness, anxiety, and depression. We sing because it's too risky not to. And sometimes we sing, the last thing, sometimes we sing because we need to be reminded that it's not about us. We need to be reminded that the story that we are living is not about us. So we're not the center of it. We're not the main character. We're not the protagonist of our story. Rick Warren, in his really famous book, The Purpose-Driven Life. Everybody remember what the first words are, first sentence in the book? It's not about you. Those are the first words of the sentence. And there's a truth in that, to say, like, if we're looking for meaning, for purpose for our lives, we are not going to find it by looking inward. We're going to find it by realizing that there is a story, and God is at the center of the story. And I am invited, and you are invited into the story, and we have a role to play in the story, but the story isn't about us. The story isn't about us. So we get together and we sing songs about Jesus. We sing songs about God being king of heaven and earth. We sing these songs that remind us that even though every message we hear all throughout the week says, no, you are the center of your world. You are the center of your story. We remind ourselves that no, we're not. That in heaven there is a throne. And everything, the picture the Bible paints again and again and again, is this throne in heaven, and we are not sitting on it. But God is sitting on it. God is on the throne. He is at the center. And we will find meaning for our lives when we embrace this truth that we are invited into His story. One of my favorite lines is from a book by Donald Miller. He says this: I am a tree in a story about a forest. And the story of the forest is much better than the story of the tree. Sometimes we sing because we need to be reminded that it's not about us at all. Jarvis came all the way from the north side of Wichita, as he does every Sunday, and he is going to share a story. Jarvis is usually in the corner, and he would admit that he's probably much more comfortable in the corner, playing drums, laying that funky beat. And so, blessings to you, Jarvis, as you share your testimony with us.
Morning.